Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flawless, a music podcast. My name is Liam, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, George.
Well, hello.
And Grant.
Hello there, music fans.
Each episode, one of the hosts or a guest nominates an album that they think is flawless, and we talk about why they love it and what they love about it, and at the end, we decide if we agree that it's flawless. We have a Facebook group. It's called Flawless Friends and Family, and we'd love for you to join. Tell us what you think about your favorite albums and your favorite episodes of Flawless. You can find it at facebook.com/groups/flawlessfriendsandfamily. And we also have a Patreon. You can back us from as little as $1 a month, and no matter how much you back us for, you'll get access to our special bonus episodes. You can find us
bonus episodes.
Oh, yes.
Woo!
Extra value.
You can find us at patreon.com/flawlessamp.
And for the record, Flawless and Friend, you don't have to be family. You don't even have to be our friend.
No.
You can just come in and judge us.
Yes.
Sometimes Liam isn't my friend.
So, yeah.
Today, I'm nominating an album, and I have gone the ultimate hipster route in that I am nominating an album that you cannot listen to on Spotify or on Apple Music or on Bandcamp or download on iTunes. So if you do not have this album, you will not be able to listen to it unless you maybe just send me an email and I might be able to organize something for you.
It's on someone's Soulseek out there.
Yeah, it's got to be out there somewhere. But
Yeah, or Napster.
Which has just been bought by someone for 70 million.
Still?
Really?
It's literally
Still a
in
thing.
today's news. I can
Right.
find it for you while we're talking. But
We'll take you at your word, Grant. That's
Sure.
okay. So I wanted to nominate these guys because they're a two-piece. And we talked in the past about, last time I did an album was a two-piece, and we talked about how they're a two-piece, but they make as much noise as like a three-piece or a four-piece. They're loud, they're boisterous, that sort of stuff. So I thought, what's a cool two-piece that don't do that? And they don't try to make as much noise as like a full band. It's literally one drum kit and one guitar, and that is pretty much it. So the band I'm nominating today are called Kid Sam, and their album is also called Kid Sam.
See what they did there?
We do see what they did there.
And it is their debut and only.
It is their debut and only record, so we're going to have to do a deep dive on what we think about the music itself, because these guys basically appeared out of nowhere.
With
They're
the
two-
paragraph on Wikipedia.
So, the album doesn't have a Wikipedia entry.
Nope.
The band has a Wikipedia entry. Would you like me to read you the entirety of the Wikipedia entry?
Please do.
Please.
We might need filler for this one.
Yeah. No. Kid Sam are a Melbourne-based duo. The band's first gig was in 2006, and it is made up of cousins Kieran and Kishore Ryan. Their debut self-titled album was released in 2009 to positive reviews, and they went on their first national headline tour in 2010. Kid Sam were nominated for a J Award and the Australian Music Prize.
And did you know that according to their Triple J page, they are known as Kieran Ryan vocals and guitar, Kishore Ryan drums and cookware.
Yes.
So as we know, the saucepans are played in here, and they supported those of Australian bands on tours, and they got good reviews, but then just
They
stopped.
just stopped. Yeah.
They just stopped.
They just stopped. So
They
had
grew
an
up.
album.
They were Kid Sam, and they grew up to just be Sam.
Yeah.
So they went on that tour in 2010, and then they just stopped. So their Facebook page just died. Kieran Ryan, actually, the singer, came out with a solo album a year or so later, which was good, but not at the same level. And then he just disappeared as well. So there's no public presence for him at all. Kishore is now the drummer in a band called Seagull, and that's as much information as I have about the two of them or anything they've done or will do.
And we don't know if they're first cousin, second cousin.
I think they're first cousins.
What do you think? But we don't know.
We don't know.
Because they've got
They-
no freaking
Can
evidence.
someone
First
get
cousin
back
wants
to us
move.
on
They are a
our
mystery
Facebook
and an enigma.
page?
Dear Ryan, dear K Ryan,
Yeah.
which encapsulates them both. Dear
Yes.
K Ryan, please confirm that your cousins, first cousins or not first cousins, once removed. Thank you.
So I reached out to the producer of the album, actually, so Nick Huggins, in the
course you
studio
did.
that he was in at the time, to see if, because there's so little information around about what they're up to now. So I asked him if he knew, but he was like, "Oh, have you spoken to them?" And I don't really feel comfortable talking about them if it's. And I'm like, "Well, I can't talk to them because I don't have any contact for them." And that was So I
was
don't
the end
know.
of
I
it.
don't know what they're doing now, or how involved they are or not involved in music at all. So
Wowza.
they appeared, put out an awesome album, disappeared, done.
So
How did you hear about him?
that's my question.
Come on then, let's go. Let's dance, bud.
In what hipster
Yeah.
nightclub were you at?
If you, knowing me,
Yeah.
if you had to guess, what do you think it would be?
You had disposable income. You went in. You went. That looked like an interesting album. You were at
No,
a
he
gig
was in
and
the
they
valley
were,
somewhere. And
you were at a gig. They were supporting a different band. And then you went. This band's really good.
Who were they supporting?
Oh, they were supporting something for Kate.
Paul Dempsey.
Yeah, dude. It's like I can read you.
Yeah.
I can just read you.
Yep. So
Wow.
Paul Dempsey played at the Troubadour on the back of his solo album, which was nominated for the J Award in the same year.
Do you want me
And-
to add Kishore as a friend on Facebook? Because I found him. And
Yeah,
I have two friends in common.
Oh, okay. Well,
One is the previous guest, Saya.
Right. Okay. I might talk to Sayer about how to get in touch with them. Or
Here
you
we
can just
are.
add him and see what happens. So Paul Dempsey was playing a solo gig at the Troubadour. These guys were announced to support. I'm like, I have no idea who that is, but cool, I'll go along and watch it. And they blew me away right from the start. Just a beautiful, stunning performance, exactly as you would expect from the album. And I just fell in love right from the start. The thing that made me fall in love with them, one of the things that made me fall in love with them was We're Mostly Made of Water opens with a riff. So there's like a really fast riff, like he's playing a lot of notes very, very quickly. And as he starts doing that, Kishore's like, hang on, something's not right with my drum kit. So he then spends the next 5 minutes setting up the drum kit. And Kieran just stays there for 5 minutes playing that riff, just fingers back and forth. I was like, you could stop, dude. No one, like, we know the drum kit's not working. And he's just standing there, just nuts. He knows the riff and he just plays it out for 5 minutes. And then when Kishore's ready, they kick in that song. So yeah, I fell in love with him. I think right from that moment is like just that. No, I can do this. This thing that sounds really difficult is actually not that difficult for me at all. So
That's awesome.
I can just do it.
Friend requested.
Sent a message, didn't do a friend request, but did have two friends in common. So I was just like, from 4ZZZ and someone else, like Saya. So I was just like,
I think I have Say It too, so I must have at least one friend in common.
there you go. So I just sent a message saying, hey, I'm doing a podcast about you right now. What are you up to since Kid Sam?
Guys, assuming you haven't heard of Kid Sam before,
Why would you assume such a
Yeah.
thing?
Jeez.
This came out in what, 2009?
2009, yes.
2009 when I was not living in Australia and was not watching Paul Dempsey.
Yeah.
Things you weren't doing.
Pardon?
Tick, tick.
Yeah.
Not in Australia.
I still not listened to a Something for Kate album. I'm waiting till it's recommended as a folder so I can rip him a new one. So, no, I'd not heard Kid Sam.
So first impressions.
First impressions. Going through the album, some of it really reminded me of some of that kind of indie music of the era of like the early 2000s and stuff, like Folds. So it has that kind of repetitive, noisy sound, and then it had that industrially noise and stuff, and then some of it was really pared back folk. And so I was like, oh, so we have a mixture of like dirty industrial, I'm literally knocking on a saucepan, through to I'm playing a whimsical folk song. So so it was I was listening to it going, oh, this is very much something Liam would bring to us. Like that's
Okay.
what I thought when I listened to it. I was like, this is a Liam record, and of course they're Australian, but you wouldn't know by listening to them
No,
that
you
they're an
wouldn't.
Australian band, because they say the word can't as well,
Right.
whereas some Australians say can't, and so that really does
and Grant.
Grant.
I got a
Yeah.
name change when I got you.
There you go.
okay.
Grant. Yes.
I'm
so,
just happy to be here. But yeah.
But I really enjoyed the variety of sound that I heard. So when I listened to it, I was like, this sounds like something I would have in my record collection. So yeah, that was my impression.
Awesome.
There you go.
Grant.
Never heard them. I think you if you didn't say it, range is like there's just a massive range of music skills types, and I've written it down, I suppose, specifically to Landslide, very Radioheadish in that one in particular. So I found the opening mirror drawings. Wow, that opening guitar! I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
it's like, geez, I don't like it, and then I love it. Like, how did that all work out?
So wiggly.
So I wouldn't have thought that you would have put this forward. I find it probably the flow was, how does this all work? I could picture them having, if you only seen them first of all, a live band, sure, but geez, there you go. They would be, really quite something. So I must be honest, in full declaration though, I didn't like listening to it on Dropbox. Okay?
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
For an easy reference, I don't like, because it doesn't flow, or it didn't flow for me, but
because it was a Dropbox, so we can just like
You're supposed
play
to pull
it.
them down to your computer and then put it into your iTunes.
I don't know how to do that, man. Jeez, come on, bro.
I use my phone for everything, dude.
Yeah, on computer, you should see I don't actually own a computer, so that's another story altogether. But
oh, honey, it's okay. You're not too old.
oh, jeez. But yeah, and 11 years old, you saw these guys.
Yes.
Have you only saw them once?
I saw them twice. So I saw them do that show, and then I knew about them enough to see them when they did their album tour after that. When I was looking through some set list stuff, I think they might have even toured a couple of other times that I must have missed them. But yeah, I definitely saw them twice. But I don't, like, that first time really stands out in my memory. And the second time, I remember, I know I saw them, but I couldn't even tell you where it was. Because it was just, that was all. I was just going to so many gigs back then.
Sure.
It was all just a bit of a blur.
I can imagine they were really good live.
Yeah.
Like that soundscape that they create, I think would be a really good live sound.
Yeah. So you talked before about the kitchenware.
Yeah.
He does play with a saucepan and a wok on top of one and another one
down
of
to
his
the
drums.
cemetery.
On a few of the songs,
Yeah.
So he just pops it up there.
I
So he
wrote
wants
saucepans.
that tanging sound. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I knew before I read anything about them, because it was hard to. I just went, he's playing a saucepan.
Yeah.
How dare he?
Yeah,
Like,
and so then live, he just has them by the drums, and when he needs them, he just puts one up and the other one on top of it, and just plays off the pieces, which is really cool.
nice.
Yeah.
So they have really lovely lyrics.
So the whole album,
Oh, like Sunday Bus?
the whole album
Well,
is
I'm mostly a good enough man.
horror stories,
Mostly.
part wondering about death and his own mortality. But it's always framed in a kind of nice way, never in a kind of, this is dark, this is depressing, this is all morbid bullshit, except for Sunday Bus maybe. But like he thinks about his own mortality and the mortality of human beings and that sort of stuff. But in a, I guess not a light way, but not in a really dark, everything is crap kind of way, which I really like.
Well, yeah, even like dark stuff though, it's still poetic. So I guess when I say nice lyrics, I mean like poetic lyrics. It's like something that I would like to read, not necessarily like they
Apply.
Yeah, I don't want to live that way.
Take
but,
a gun, follow the bus.
Yeah. Okay. So I wouldn't do that. But some of the other
But
stuff.
you thought it, maybe.
Well, no, but in Landslide, which did you talk about Landslide?
Not yet.
It was like Alice in Wonderland, like the lyrics. So there is.
What is it I am? I asked of myself, but too late. I was something.
That's so Alice in Wonderland. Like that's all I read. Like I just pulled out little bits because I was like, I can just imagine her like talking to the cat and saying, "To what a strange place I have come." So yeah, which is why I could read the poetic lyrics, which makes sense. So Liam,
Yes.
why this one album
Yep.
by this band that you saw supporting your bestie?
My bestie. Yeah.
Your bestie.
Your man crush.
My musical bestie. Absolute man crush. Yeah.
Your absolute
fine.
man crush. Like, I'm going to
so.
really enjoy standing in movies. Why? So, you brought this album. We're not doing a pitch, but just like, why did you pick? Because you've got a list of flawless records. Why did you pick this, and why did you pick it now?
So the reason I picked it now was that two piece that got me thinking last time after I did the mess hall, and I was thinking about what we could do next. but this has always been one of my flawless albums. I'm not sure if it is even on the shortlist, but every time I think about it, I just remember how much I love it. So his voice is amazing. I love, like, it's just, he's calm and controlled and just hits that level every time. Like, it doesn't get too out of control. His guitar playing is amazing as well. Like, this album, we talked about performing it live. Like, he can do all the stuff that he does on this album. He just does it live. It's an amazing guitar player. But then Kishore, the drumming, this might be one of my all-time favorite drumming performances on an album, because there's so many times the drumming is just there to establish a rhythm. Like, it's just there because you have to have a drum kit. But he just does so much with every single song. So, like, even on the opening one, Mirror Drawing, so it opens with 2 minutes of just the guitar. But then when the drumming comes in, he's hitting 3 out of the 4 beats. So it's dum, 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 dum. It's just really, like, he hits that offbeat every time, which is really cool. So it's just this total package of, like, a drumming, and because it is only drumming and guitaring and vocals, like, there's not a lot of other stuff in there.
But there are layers.
Yes, there are layers, but it's not like
it sounds like there's like loop pedals, and it sounds like percussion has like multiple layers to it sometimes and stuff. So it does have that full sound on some of the tracks, which sound more industrial or like dirty and like awesome, 2000s indie.
But it's definitely always just the two of them. So it's not like, oh, we're a 2-piece band, but for our recording we got like 5 guys into a studio to do a whole thing, and then figured out how to do it live. Like, they just figured out how to do it on the go.
Who played the glockenspiel?
I don't know. There's very little information about this album out there.
There is, but I've underlined it in red.
I think
which
it might
is the thing that I do.
It's your thing.
I think it might have just been them. I think it would have been one of the. If there's stuff in there that's happening, I think it might have just been one of the two of them.
Fair, because that was in close your. Hold on, I've not written the whole title.
Close your eyes and it all goes to black.
That's why. Glockenspiel I've written. So yes, there we go. Beautiful.
So I imagine that was Kishore, because Kieran would have been playing the acoustic guitar on that one, because there's not a lot of percussion on that one. But yeah, so I got a quote. We recorded it in one block of time, about 10 or 11 days, with Nick Huggins in the studio. He was using it at the time in Hawthorne, Melbourne. Recording was extremely intense. It felt like being trapped underground in a mine for a couple of weeks and then emerging with an album that we dug up. Some of the songs were extremely laborious to write, but others pretty much wrote themselves in no time at all. And that was literally the only quote I could find about the recording process of the album.
So they didn't necessarily go in for the 10, 11 days with the songs ready to record. They were still making them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
In the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, when I recorded my album, we wrote all the songs, and then we just went in and then we recorded them to make it less painful for everyone. And then we all went home and had a nice time. But when you're still writing in the studio, that's hardcore.
It is hardcore.
That's because that's so much pressure.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Goodness.
So I don't know how much writing, it might have been they had all the pieces and they just hadn't figured out how to put them together yet, or they were like, no, we've got to write a whole new song from scratch. But yeah, and I don't know that because there are no interviews with these guys
exactly. I was going to say,
to find out that information.
So you talked about Mirror Drawings
as
an opening very pretty tune. Can I just say that there are some very pretty lyrics in it?
I was going to say a similar thing.
Was it about hair?
No.
Oh, well, can we both say lyrics? Are we allowed? So...
Morning after the party, you were drying your long wet hair. You drew a line around your body, in the mist on the mirror.
Awesome.
It's a really pretty lyric.
it's a great lyric.
And then mine is the opening lyric of the whole album, which is, I used to think I was a solo pilot set to fly across the sea alone, but there's a scar running down my rib cage where you were cut from me so long ago. Which is like, I thought I was solo, and it's like, but I'm not. But also not being solo actually means you've had to cut something out of myself, which is, bad and good, I guess. And then just a number of times, like the refrain of that song is, all the world is just two lovers. There are only two lovers in all the world, which is a really cool little lyric that's just a thingo to keep repeating.
Yeah, I did get the "And Your Love Is in the World" like the first time I listened before I looked at any of the lyrics online. That came up, and so I wrote that down in a different color to remember. But when he's playing the wiggly guitar bit, he's doing like the stretching of the strings, and so it makes that lovely kind of noise when you're playing it.
But it grows in you.
And then, because that song goes for 8 minutes. So
well, when you've got perfect pitch or relative pitch, it's really painful to hear that stretch because it moves the hertz, the frequency the wrong way. But it's a really interesting sound to listen to. Yeah.
So that song goes for 8 minutes. So the first 6 minutes is those sort of quite stripped back sounds and doing the little pieces. And then it just picks up. There's really tempo, and it sounds like he's almost strangling the guitar, and Kishore really goes crazy on the drums. And you think it might build up to like a crescendo and cut out, but it cuts out just straight back to that guitar riff that opened up the song as well. So it's just a really cool little song construction. And then, really good showcase for his falsetto voice.
Yes. So I wrote down a few people from a vocal range perspective. There is a lot of Guy Garvey from Elbow in the vocals here across this record. And there's also some Mark Kozlek of Sun Kill Moon.
Yep.
There was some of that sound too. And then someone who came later or around this time, a bit later, is Father John Misty. And so there was that kind of drawl sometimes. And so these are like people I was writing down when I was doing like vocal comparisons and stuff. And I was just kept listening. And so especially in Down to the Cemetery, that was just like really sounded like an Elbow song. Like despite the saucepans, despite the saucepans, and that simple melody working, but like the percussion in that is lovely. It's morbid, but a beautiful melody. But then it had this like Guy Garvey sounding vocals with just industrial, fuzzy, growly effects, noise between vocal takes and stuff.
Noise.
And stuff. And if anyone knows me, they'll know that I've got a collection of guitar pedals, and one of them is called a Big Muff. And that literally makes you just go boo, and it sounds awesome.
Okay.
So good live. And I've got one for my bass and I've got one for my guitar, just so I can make big, dirty, muffy sounds. So so I really enjoy. There is a collection of effects on these guitars, some acoustic. So Sunday Bus, despite everything we've said, the acoustic guitar sounds so clean. It sounds like it's just been serviced. So when you service your guitar and it's everything about it is perfect, and you bring it home and you play it for the first, like an acoustic, you play it for the first time, it just has the cleanest sound. And like I literally had to write down, it sounds like a freshly serviced guitar. So
Beautiful and crisp.
yeah.
So the Sunday Bus is
A great song.
the Sunday Bus is the first of our horror songs. What I describe as the horror songs.
Horror songs.
So so it's about a guy. It even right from the start, you can tell something's not quite right. So he's this guy. He's 56. He's running a corner store in a very empty desert town. So we talked in the mess hall about songs. It's like Australiana. It's big open spaces and it's deserts and stuff. And this is definitely one of those ones that's along those lines as well. So he's 56. He goes to Thailand, gets a purchase as a bride, and then.
Yeah, I took her back here to this desert town. We lived our lives the same as most of you. We never loved each other, but that's alright. That's a gift given only to a chosen few.
And you're thinking, okay, this is a guy, buying a bride's not great, but he's at peace with where he is in his life, and he's just going to go with this thing. And then, of course, and so it's just a straight story. There's no chorus. So there's the verses, and then there's a harmonica piece breaking up each of the verses, but there's no actual chorus. It just brings in the harmonica stuff.
Is it harmonica? I wrote horns. Is it
I
harmonica?
thought it was harmonica, but it could be horns.
I underlined it
Yeah,
in red.
it probably was horns actually, but fuzzed up a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, there was just something like
even that is kind of like, well,
jangly.
that's kind of nice. Like it's it doesn't really sound that bad. But then of course it turns out that she steals a bunch of money, and there's only one bus that comes through town, so it's the Sunday Bus, which is what the song's called. And the first time she thinks she's going to do it, he threatens her and says, if you do it, I'll bury you in the desert. And then one day he wakes up and she's done it. She's done the runner, and he doesn't know where she is. And someone says, oh yeah, I saw her getting on the bus. And so the end of the song is the guy's in his car following the bus with the rifle by his side, ready to go, and singing about how it's a big empty desert out here. So basically saying no one's going to find her, and that's okay.
Which is why the words "I'm a mostly good enough man" is like mostly good
Except
enough.
Mostly
one
yeah.
time.
Apart from that time, I took a rifle to my
Wife.
bought bride, and
Yeah,
Goodness.
so it's the first few verses just happen, and then at the end he stops the guitar, so it's just the drumming and his to sort of build up that sort of sense of dread, and just the payoff at the end of the song is horrifying, but also just like a really cool way to build up that story.
yeah. But when the vocals join, it's like at the end, and so it's really good. It's like a big sound, and it's supposed to, it goes quiet for the drums.
Yeah,
And then everything comes in.
yeah,
There you go. Because I'm assuming at that point he found her.
yeah,
That's my assumption.
yeah,
Like the bus pulls over, during the drum solo, she gets off, and then he finds her, and that's the end of the song.
I wasn't even sure if it got that far, if he was just tailing the bus. And that was where, like, the song ended with him just tailing the bus.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
I just thought it was trailing the bus. So.
yeah.
Oh,
That he
okay.
hadn't quite got to the point where she got off. But it's so there's an inevitability about it. Like, this is not. Oh, I guess I wonder what's going to happen. Like, no, this is going to happen, and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And she's going to disappear. And of course, she's in a country where no one knows who she is. Like, he's the only one who would miss her or report her missing or do anything to try and find her, which he won't. And so, of course, no one else will either. And
What
that'll
a
be the end of
lovely
it.
subject matter.
It is. It's such a lovely song. Yeah.
And unfortunately, probably based on some true story read in the
Probably.
newspaper.
Good, well,
Yeah.
sure.
Goodness. Cool. Okay, so we talked briefly about Landslide because that had my Alice in Wonderland lyrics.
And I had said it was very Radioheadish. I thought
Yeah.
From Yorkie.
I wrote
could see a thumb there.
hypnotic.
Yeah.
Hypnotic. Yeah.
And I thought, wow, was he an influencer? I don't know. We don't know. We can't find anything
Can't find-
online.
I have to ask
Come on,
your best
people.
friend.
Yes. Yeah, there is like the vocals have this like hypnosis with the instruments and that drawl. So instead of the clean like sounding vocals before, we have the drawl, and then there talks about strange and humming sounds, and then when it gets full, that's when I got that kind of Foles kind of that vibe, you know, like big full drums, big full guitar sounds, this, that, and the other. It was a fun song to listen to. Would be, I can imagine a lot of these being good fun to dance to.
Well, I think the fact that you found it, you heard these guys first live.
Yeah.
You know, you dial it back and you go, okay, well, this is why you would have enjoyed these songs, because you can certainly picture, you know, in intro with you know, some of the opening riffs are like, okay, well, you know, come on, and the crowd will be starting to get going, and
I don't even think there was ever that big a crowd for them, though, like, because they weren't that well known. Even with the Australian Music Prize nomination, they weren't that well known. Like, most people, obviously, the Paul Dempsey gig were there to see Paul, and probably got introduced to them then. I think also
So were they a bit of a, from what I gather from Paul Dempsey, this a bit of a dichotomy sound wise, like
a very different kind of sound.
Yeah.
To him. Yeah, because he would have been, I'm pretty sure at that stage he was playing solo, so just him and an acoustic guitar.
which is why these guys coming in making like repetitive, aggressive, industrial noise with some folky sounds
Yeah.
might not have captured as many people in the audience as they did for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And also,
fair.
I think as in general, they are quite hypnotic as well. Like, they're like, you can see them doing lots of different stuff on stage and playing lots of different patterns, and the drumming is sort of doing lots of weird stuff as well. So it's not easy to dance to in a very straightforward sort of manner.
Awesome.
Let's speak about the other horror song,
Oh yes.
Jody Makes a Fire.
Oh, that's so horrific. Yes.
It is so...
Yeah, that story.
Yeah.
That sad story.
Did you want to tell the story?
Well, the sad story of the girl who packed in a suitcase a brand new blue dress, and she's so happy to take it to the bonfire to meet the boys, and then she comes back and the dress is torn and she's sad about the dress being torn. And then the next day she's building a fire and she throws the blue dress onto the fire. That is a very sad story that I think many a woman can relate to. And it's over this messy feedback noise and industrial
the guitar and the
sound.
sound was really good.
Yeah, like rolling drums, fuzzy effects, noisy, and it's fun. That's what's like. It's really fun, like as a song. But then, like when you read the lyrics, you're like, this is dark as fuck.
Yeah, without ever being exploitative of what she's like. This is just a straightforward story, like almost told from the perspective of the guy that she. It's hard, I couldn't figure out necessarily who the guy is in this story because she went away to a town. So was he in that town or was he when she came back from the town? So they talk about going to a town on the north coast. So it's sort of like a Byron Bay style party town sort of thing. So I couldn't figure out if it was he was in that town and met her then and then she went to the party, or he was a friend of hers or someone that she knew at her hometown and it messed her up so bad that she came back to her hometown and then burnt the dress.
And then burnt
from
the dress,
there.
maybe. But a lot of women have been, I know I've been there. I've never burnt the dress, but I know I've definitely been assaulted and had my clothes ruined by boys, not necessarily at bonfires. So, so reading those lyrics, I was like, yep, it was actually cleverly written, as you say. Like the words are written in such a way it's not exploitative of her and her experience, but it is from the perspective of somebody looking on going, well, she loved her blue dress. She wore it to see the boys. The dress got torn and now she's burning it. And you're like, she's burning the memory of whatever happened when she wore the blue dress. So Jodie makes a fire. At first I was like, oh, I wonder what this is about. And then I read it and was like, now I'm sad.
Yeah.
But thank you for because I first listened to it without listening to the lyrics, and I was just like, party tune, awesome,
fuzzy, jumpy,
fuzzy,
aggressive.
Yeah, it's got all the guitar effects I want to listen to, noisy, fun, but not completely overwhelming.
He hits different parts of the walk. He's got the walk on top of the drum kit, and you can. There's different, like he's playing the walk as a melody.
But for the whole last minute. It's just high repeated notes on the guitar, and then the drums just drop and drop and drop until it's just the guitar.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just feel like that's the embers of the fire closing and closing and closing, and everything's burnt now, and now we're at the end of the story.
Done.
So one of the beautiful things about the story too is whoever that guy is, he doesn't talk about finding the guys who did this or getting revenge or violence or anything. And he also never discusses the idea that it might be her fault or what she could have done differently. I wish she hadn't gone. I wish she hadn't done this. I wish she hadn't done that. Like, it's just, this is a thing that happened.
That blue dress? You wore that blue dress?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I wish she hadn't gone because that's what happens to girls when they do. It's like, no, none of that. He just goes, he just sits there making porridge and coffee with 2 sugars. So he just finds the thing that he knows about her and just does that thing, which I really like.
Like something normal after whatever's happened. Yeah. So that is a horror story.
So that's the 2 main horror stories. The rest of the ones are more mortality and morbid rather than directly horror stories.
Yeah, but some, like...
Oh, they're still dark.
Yeah, it's still dark.
Sure.
So a black ant, that's dark, but it's got the words.
I sat down on the steps of the old church, not because I believed, there was no reason I could see.
And I was reading that like, been there.
Yeah.
Oops, was in the choir, sorry. But yeah, so, and then just talks about like the insignificance and desperation of an ant compared to other animals, like and stuff like that. And that's upbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bizarre. And he crushes one, or
so he crushes another
one.
So he talks about the idea. So one of the things that people often talk about is what separates us from the animals. And I've always thought it's that sense of our own mortality. So an animal doesn't want to die, so it'll run away or it'll, try and escape something, but it doesn't necessarily know that it's going to die. So human beings, we're obsessed with our own mortality, but also our legacy. Like, what am I leaving behind? What are people going to say about me? What are people going to think about me? That sort of stuff, which animals are not. And that's kind of what he talks about here in this song. And so he says,
people suffer more than ants or birds or dogs or any other thing, 'cause they know the trap they're in. And even though they know they're going to sink, they have to swim, knowing that eventually they will go under.
so it's that idea of we're, as human beings, we are developed enough to know we're going to die and we've got a lifetime to figure out what that means for us and what we're going to leave behind. Whereas animals are just like much more existing in the moment.
Sure.
Well, some of them, something, rats can
Yeah,
think ahead.
like planning and stuff. But that idea of what do I leave behind and
that's
what will
true.
other rats think of
Or
me.
it
and
hasn't
what
just
will-
been proven yet.
Yeah, maybe that's true. Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah, I really
But there's
like-
some really interesting stuff with the drums in that one, and so there's like inflections and rattles in between, like the vocals and stuff. But then there's like a middle eight, which is like a real lift up, and you're like, "Wow, I'm lifted throughout this middle eight. This is awesome." And then you're like, "Oh no, there we go.
Yeah.
We're contemplating our own existence again. Thank you. Thanks for that."
So yeah, I really like Black Ant. Yeah.
I thought the last two tracks were amazing,
Yep.
to be honest.
So we're mostly made of water.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, so that one's got just so I talked about before about playing that melody, and it's sort of, they play around with a bit with that melody as well. But so one of the things that he talks about is,
Everybody's walking their own road to whatever. Sometimes they come together, eventually get lost. May not always be friends. People drift apart like continents. An ocean comes between them. The distances grow wide.
I got those lyrics too.
yeah, that makes me so sad because that makes me think of, so I've got a group of friends that I hung out with in high school, and basically from 17 through to like 27 or 28, we were just every weekend, 2 or 3 nights a week, we were inseparable. We were hanging out. Didn't matter where we lived together for a while. We were doing stuff, and then we just stopped and we all sort of drifted apart, and everybody had families and grew their own sort of families and grouped off separately with that. But I read a thing on the internet once that was like, one day was the last day you and your friends ever hung out. The last time that one day there was a time where you and your friends hung out for the last time, and you didn't know it at the time. And that just made me really sad.
I also read one that said, one day your parents lifted you up for a cuddle and put you down, and that was the last time they ever did it. And you're like, just like, why do memes hurt so bad?
So sorry, Grant. What else about We're Mostly Made of Water struck you?
Just, I maybe it was because you sort of come from that, certainly, Jodie May of Fire, where you've got this like hectic stuff going on, and it's quite an intro and it's quite an ending, and then close your eyes and all goes to black. But you then get into this mellow strumming across. So both tracks have got nice acoustics from memory, and just like I think they paint a very vivid picture in your imagination of the words and that they're using the lyrics that they've got. So
And close your eyes. There is lyrics.
You said you can't make a mark on the surface of water the way you can write on the wall. The ripples you leave will disappear quickly, then you let the white feathers fall.
Like, just again another mark of your insignificance
Yeah.
in the world. And it's like, yeah, it's true, but like you can, and even if you make a mark on the wall, someone's going to paint it over. Let's be honest. So so there's like, and then close your eyes. There's no percussion in that one. That's just that is just guitar and glockenspiel, as we talked about.
And then he sums it up at the end of that one, which is like part of almost like a mission statement for a large chunk of the album, when he says, "Who will remember us? Who will remember us? Who, when those who remember us go." So it's not just about making an effect with one circle of people who do know you, but it's like, all right, once they're all gone, who'll know you? Who'll remember who you were and what you were?
I'm going to just leave a heavy social media imprint.
Yeah, well, now we fixed all that with Instagram. So who will know me? My Instagram followers will all remember long after everybody is gone.
Yeah, I'll just make sure my grandchild knows. It's all good.
And so, Soft Grey Rain, Grant, what do you like about that last?
Well, it's the same. I mean, similar. I suppose I view them quite similar songs in overall. So, just I think it was a nice come down from the sort of from 6 down to 9. It really sort of mellows out, and not quite as confronting up end or mirror drawings where you're like, what's going on here? This is quite. For me, it was quite a predictable one, or a lot more straightforward.
Yep.
On Soft Grey Rain.
Yep.
And I like that when the drums do come in, it comes in with brushes.
Yeah.
It's like a really smooth
really acoustic-y
sound.
drums.
Yeah, like keeping the mood.
And the maracas, like really, I felt like there was like really soft maracas
like soft
in there
rattles
as well.
or something. Yeah, there was something in there. And the lyrics, I really never meant to be gone too long, and then when I got back to find you gone. Like, that's the end. That's the end of the album, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So it's a song about like wanderlust and wanting to leave and feeling that need to leave. But then, so he leaves, and then when he comes back, it's not accusatorily. He's not saying, you should have been here when I got back. But he's like, well, I left, and I didn't mean to stay as long. So when I got back, you were gone. You had the same thing I had, and you left. And then by the time you get back, I'll probably be gone as well. So that idea of that friendship or that relationship that was supposed to exist in between them going off and discovering what they really want to do is just not going to happen, because they're off discovering what they really want to do.
Which is, again, very, very pretty. Acoustic picking, high vocals, nice drums, really melancholy lyrics.
Yeah. But it's so even when they're super morbid lyrics, so throw the horror stories to a side for a second, but even the really morbid ones, it's not in a really down kind of way. Like, it's kind of just more in a matter of fact.
Yeah.
These are the things, we are human. These are things that affect us, who'll know us when we've gone. Everybody dies, that sort of stuff. So that's where in Down to the Cemetery is that idea of like, the cemetery is where people go when they die. So nobody else likes to go there because they're surrounded by death, but everybody ends up there. So why do people find it like, I guess if you can talk about the fact that everybody ends up there, then maybe you wouldn't feel so awkward about going down there.
Then they talk about like dancing on the 2 plots in preparation for it anyway.
Yeah, so it's almost like he sneaks in a little bit of a love song. So he goes, so when we're gone, let's get 2 graves together by the tree that rises tall and brave, and those who are still living out their birth will go dancing over our small patch of earth. So he's like, just come down and dance in our graves. We won't care. Like, just do a dance.
We'll be dead.
Yeah, we don't. It doesn't worry us at all.
Yeah, that's why I am an organ donor, everyone.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
at that point, I don't need them anymore. Like, I'm done. So, yeah, that's awesome. So you're right. Even the melancholy or it is matter of fact. It's just, like talking about the Black Ant. Like, this is just the way of things.
Done.
So it's just truth bombs.
Yeah.
The whole album's just truth bombs, like just written quite poetically throughout. So good for them. So thank you for them. Thank you for them for bringing it to us.
One album.
So it's 40 something minutes, but we've talked about all 9 songs now. So it feels like a short album, but it's not really a short album because it's got nice long songs on it. I don't know how you guys feel about the length, but for me, it always feels like I get to the end, I'm like, I was kind of not just getting into it, but it felt like it could have had a few more in there. But it was, it's a nice short one.
A Black Ant's only 3:13.
Yeah, and a couple of the other ones, like Down to the Cemetery, 3:25. Close Your Eyes and It All Goes to Black's only 3:52.
But then Jody Makes Fire, 5:45. But that needed to be said.
That needed to be, So that's got that huge intro of that, like the crunchy guitar, and then the drums, and then at the end there was like lots of stuff at the end as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So did either of you have anything else you wanted to talk about before I do final pitch?
Not for me.
I'm just saying if I had any more lyrics, da da da. So I'm just making sure because I write them in a different color.
Yeah.
But I've been able to like capture them throughout, which is good. So 9 tracks, but did you say 45 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, in that 42 to 45 minute range, I think.
Yeah, cool. Well, I couldn't tell because I had to have an illegal Dropbox of the album.
Guys, drag the files out of Dropbox, drag them into your iTunes, copy them onto your phone.
That was new information.
Yeah.
And again, you assume I use iTunes all the time. But anyway, sure.
You're on Apple Music.
Yeah, but I don't use a desktop.
And I don't use iTunes and I don't use a desktop.
But anyway, it's
You've
fine.
both got iPhones.
You know what?
don't
It was an adventure.
Yeah,
You've got iTunes on your phones.
It was an adventure.
It was an adventure. Okay.
it was.
Final pitch.
But do you know what was really funny?
And,
It meant that I couldn't get to. I didn't have the full titles because.
Yeah,
like-
me too.
Oh,
Yeah. When I opened it, I've got
Yeah.
I've got Closure, and then I had to search for the
Something
thingy.
black.
why didn't
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
tell me? I would have given them all to
Then
you.
but then I had to look online for the lyrics and stuff, and then it was just like Closure. Oh, there we go. So we got there. So Grant and I had to work extra hard.
You did, and I appreciate it.
It was all good, and
Also,
Kishore has not replied to me
Right, no.
during
Yes.
the recording of this podcast, and may never reply on account of me saying, "Hello, I'm doing a podcast about you. What have you been up to since that time that you released an album? Like,
11?
how's life?
Yeah.
You know, and
Years
just
ago?
care about you. So, yeah.
Just reaching
I was actually surprised how many lyrics of these songs were online. I was sure that they'd just be like, no one who knows who they are. And if you want to know the ultimate hipster, I also noticed a few that were wrong. So I was like,
really?
that's not the
Beautiful.
lyric.
I did see some where it said, "I am," then in brackets, "unsure," and then it's like, and then it carried on, and I was just like, there we go. Yep.
There was one, so at the start of the first song where it goes, I used to think I was a solo pilot. The one the website had, I used to think I was a soul of parties.
Oh.
Which okay, soul of, if you listen to it, it's like, okay, I can hear how you might think he said soul of parties. But then the next line is set to fly across the sea alone. It's like, souls of parties don't fly across the sea alone. That is very much
no.
the definition of, unless
A
they're
solo.
unless they're like be on the outside, but actually
Maybe
inside
they're just
they're
really
dark
high.
and morbid.
Yeah.
That too.
Soul of the party, really high, gonna fly.
Yeah.
There you go. But no, that's fair enough. I love the. Are you gonna do corrections
Am I going to do corrections like a?
on the websites?
No,
That had the
I'm
wrong
not-
lyrics.
I wasn't that invested in it.
Dude,
Just random lyrics websites.
fair enough.
You were going to challenge me on that. You think I am that invested?
I thought that you are that like dedicated that you'd be like, actually,
Well,
because
actually,
you can
Allow me
always
to correct you.
you can always put recommendations at the bottom.
Yeah.
And you could have said, "I'm a solo pilot."
Yeah.
And I fly.
Actually,
Actually,
so yeah.
no.
Awesome.
I won't be doing that.
Okay, so so we are at the point of the length of the album.
Yes, we are. We have eclipsed it. Final pitch. So it's just a beautifully sumptuous piece of work. It's 2 pieces. It's a 2 piece that don't try to make too much noise, which is not to say that other 2 pieces try to make too much noise, but they're very much in control of what they're doing. They're never boring or nothing going on. So Kieran's got that beautiful evocative voice that he uses to spin the dark, and these occasionally tortured but never repressive or dour tales. He knows exactly how much guitar parts to bring in or take out. Kishore's drumming is a masterclass in allowing space. Like, he doesn't try and crash into too much spaces. If it's even in a beat, like I said before, there'll be lots of times where he's like only hitting 3 out of the 4 beats because he just gives that space. He loves to try something different. So we talked about the drumming on the wok and the saucepan and stuff, and then integrating it. It's the perfect length. It's not too overwhelming. Every song has its own personality, but also it's still in that style that you can tell. If you'd listened to this album a few times, you can tell if someone played your song, you'd go, oh yeah, this is Kid Sam. So I think it's stunning, it's powerful, and it is flawless.
And that was all prepared.
And that was all prepared.
Yeah, and that's impressive. I
make no bones about that.
I know. I love it so much. You're so cute.
Grant,
Cool.
final thoughts and a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Final thoughts. I found this one perplexing, probably, and because there's elements of it across the board that are I've flipping really liked, and I suppose I could start with maybe I'm pitch perfect in my ear because that flipping opening riff on the guitar and mirror drawings. I'm like, shit, I can't. This is freaking hard. And then I really loved it, and the lyrics to mirror drawings in reference to, you know, the lovers and drawing the outline of the mirror. Really, really cool. Hey, don't get me wrong. It's begrudgingly cool, particularly on the back of what is, for me, a painful intro, which makes it a nice song. And so now I'm like, how do I feel about this? And it's 8 minutes, guys. 8 minutes is like beyond Stairway to Heaven type of stuff. You know, this is like flipping, you know, that's an epic in a 40.
That's longer than
minutes.
Bohemian Rhapsody, we discovered.
Well, there we go. And thoroughly enjoyed, I suppose, the first going through Dance Cemetery, you know, Sunday Bus, etc. Landslide didn't do all that much for me, but I liked thinking, hey, this might have got an influence from Thom Yorke, who, you know, also right up there with a great artist. But then where I really struggled, to be honest, was what you guys loved was Jody Makes a Fire. And I thought the intro was too long for me, and the outro was probably even longer.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, because of Jody Makes a Fire, if you didn't have that, you probably have the flow that I like and I speak to a lot. And I would have said, you know what, certainly finishing, I think it finishes really, really well, opens really well, nothing too distracting or stuff I don't agree with in the middle, but closes really well. Jody Makes a Fire, I could picture live, sure, probably be really good. I think, was it the one you were talking about that he did play the opening riff?
No, that was We're Mostly Made of Water.
Okay.
Because that's like a really fast 4-paced chord that he just loops. He just repeated.
So I'm going to say no, it isn't flawless, but well worth a listen. And these guys have got good lyrics, like really, really good lyrics. But for me, for this one, I'm going to say no.
Cool.
Ta-da!
George, over to you.
My turn.
Your turn.
So I'm going to start with that thing that I do where I go, I'm annoyed that I hadn't heard it before.
Yeah.
That happens.
Sure.
But because it's Australian, we can put it as...
One album at that, as well.
Yeah.
Let's be fair.
Yeah. It would be a miracle almost, I
One
think,
album.
for you to have heard it.
Yeah. Have never heard Something for Kate, nor Paul Dempsey. So you can chalk it up to I've never seen them live. And
you were young and over there.
And I was...
Mile Island.
2009. Yeah. So yes. So anyway, so it's got. I was listening to stuff like this back in the UK as I was talking about like Volves and like Block Party even and stuff like that. And some of the times they do make big noises, and I really enjoy the noisy electronic sounds when the industrial bits happen. And I really love like the guitar riffs, and I like the dirty percussion, like when it comes in and it's rolling and it's hitting you in the face. And I really like that, and I could definitely dance to this in a hipster club, except for there are, I think, Sunday Bus, Close Your Eyes, and Soft Grey Rain tripped me up because they were the acoustic-y numbers, and I wanted them to go away. Like, I liked them I liked them as their own songs, and I was like, that's cool. But what I wanted was a Yeah Yeah Yeahs album. You know, or I wanted a Rapture album or something like that, where I can put it on at the beginning when I'm getting ready, and I can dance around my like bathrooms. I'm getting ready to go party, but then I'm dropped a few times into just a really refrained acoustic thing, and I'm like, no.
Flow.
Yeah, so for me, the flow wasn't quite right, but the songs were right.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, the songs were good.
Perplexed.
That's perplexed. So the songs were good, but they just... I feel like they should have done when Bright Eyes released 2 albums on one day, and one was electronic and one was folksy. I feel like it should have been that, and it was just that kind of thing. So for me, it was like I would make a playlist of most of the tracks, probably like 6 of the tracks, put that onto a getting party ready track like playlist, and then I put 3 of them onto a miserable folk playlist, and then I would party hard. So for me, it can't be a flawless record because I would skip or rearrange the playlist and stuff. But I must say, I'm annoyed that they didn't continue.
Yeah.
So I feel like
debut.
I feel like they should have continued. So let me put it out to them that there's still time. It's been 11 years, but there's still time. So it's not a flawless record from my perspective, but the songs kind of are. So Thank you, Liam.
Yeah, thank you for
good.
bringing it.
No worries.
Thank
Really.
you very much for bringing me another album I'd never heard before that I'm annoyed by, and I lose hipster points.
Awesome. So couldn't quite get Kid Sam, or couldn't actually get Kid Sam anywhere near the line. Didn't quite get across the
I
line.
know, one of three. One of three.
That's
Yes,
okay.
but they all have one of three. If they don't have one of three, there's a problem. We want to thank everybody for listening. We have social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are Flawless AMP on all of those. So check us out. Leave us a rating. Every little bit you do helps us to find more music lovers like you. We also, as we mentioned at the start, have a Patreon. We are patreon.com/flawlessamp. So check that out and back us if you can. That would be awesome. Other than that, thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time.